defective clones with desirable mutations. They call themselves the Bad Batch.
What's up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Empire Radio Podcast. I'm Andrew.
I'm Jeremiah.
I'm Drew.
And you just heard the Bad Batch themed intro to our podcast, which means, drum roll,
One
please. Nice, thank you. We're talking about the Bad Batch again today. More specifically, we are jumping into the season finale of Jeremiah's fan fiction, in which he hopes one day he will win $500 million and be able to turn into a live-action television show or movie. No, it's a television show. You're right.
Yep.
Just corrected myself before I dug myself into a hole. It's fine. But yeah, so for those of you that don't know, like a month ago now, he kind of mentioned in passing that he was going to write one, and then he surprised Drew and I and actually did it. And so we've been spending the last 2 weeks now. This week will be the third, going through the season thus far. And so we went through episodes 1, 2, and 3 the first week, episodes 4, 5, and 6 the second week. And now we are at the grand finale of Jeremiah's story. So if you haven't listened to any of the episodes up until now, you're probably going to want to pause and go back and listen to those, because you're not going to have a great deal of an idea of what's going on. But yeah, it's been a wild ride. Drew and I have been really impressed, and we're excited to see what happens in the final episode. To give this a little bit more context, Jeremiah, how many pages did you do? Like collectively, did you write for the first 6 episodes?
First 6 episodes would be like almost 3 pages, and then this final episode is like 2 pages. So by itself. So
that's why, if you're wondering why we're dedicating an entire episode to this last episode of his fan fiction, that's why. So without further ado, here's how this is going to work. Kind of like the other 2 episodes, we're just going to let Jeremiah go, and it's going to be story time with Jeremiah. He's going to tell us all about the last episode, and you're going to be along for the ride for Drew and I's real in-time reactions.
Yeah.
So it should be a lot of fun.
Yeah. So just a quick recap of where we left off. The Bad Batch and Rex's group of clones, they created a device that could be attached to a clone's head and shoulder area that would do the surgery to remove the biochip, so they could go do surgeries on clones without needing a big medical station or anything like that. So they're kind of just doing that. So they were going from small communication outposts and taking out the outposts and then capturing and then trying to do the surgery on the clones that they capture. And so at this point, they have saved 43 clones for a total. Now they have a total of 53 that have had surgery and are no longer brainwashed by the biochip. And so at this moment, they are looking to attack a larger target that has a bigger payoff of supplies and ships and amount of clones. And so at this moment, again, Tarkin, who is kind of the villain kind of in this series, he's anticipating that these groups that somewhere in this area, a larger target is going to be hit. Now, he doesn't really know for sure at this moment that these outposts are being hit by the Bad Batch and other clones that have had their biochips removed. because there's really no evidence. Just the outposts are just attacked, and the clones go missing, and they don't know why. And so, but he's still anticipating a larger target in that region of the galaxy. And so that's where we pick up for episode 7, and that is entitled "Surprise Attack."
Sweet. So before we begin, I have 2 questions. One, for
Yes.
those people, for whatever reason, you don't know why Jeremiah just mentioned Tarkin as the main bad guy for the season. Can you give like a 2-second summary as to why Tarkin is involved at this point?
Yes. When before Order 66 occurred, Tarkin was the leader of the Bad Batch, and he was the one sending them out on missions and whatnot. And we find out that he was working, that he knows everything about Order 66 and how it works and the biochip and all that jazz. And so when Order 66 happened, the Emperor, he sent a hollow message via Tarkin to the Bad Batch, and so he's in there. And so now, because the Bad Batch has gone missing, he's kind of on the lookout for the Bad Batch because it's his responsibility in that region and whatnot.
Very nice. And then the second question that I have, would the entire group of clones who are now traveling with the Bad Batch, Rex included, would they all be considered the Bad Batch collectively? In your opinion, is this the new large Bad Batch family?
Don't spoil that reference in season 2.
Oh, okay. For those of you that don't know, I have no idea what he has planned for season 2, so I may or may not have just stumbled onto something there. But okay, please continue. Those are my questions.
Okay. Any questions from you, Drew, before we move on? I'll take that as a no. Okay.
No, I'm good.
All right.
I said
So
I'm really curious why Andrew potentially ruined season 2. But
If I did, it was an accident.
true.
hey, you gotta have your theories. Like sometimes theories are right.
Oh, true. Most of
But-
the time we're wrong, but yeah.
Yeah.
Like that
So-
whole Jar Jar thing.
Yeah, that's
Ooh,
still up.
dear
That's
Lord.
still up. That's still up in the
No.
air. If they,
Dude, what if Jeremiah adds Jar Jar to this?
oh,
I'm
that'd
fine as
be
long as he's
amazing.
not the Sith Lord.
I'm not. I want him to be. But
he
okay.
he isn't the Sith Lord. He's a former Sith Lord. How about that?
Oh my gosh.
Oh my.
He's Plagueis's master.
That makes more sense.
Okay, that means I have a lot more questions.
Okay. We're going on a rabbit trail. Let's get episode 7, surprise attack.
Yeah. Okay, let's go.
All right, so the Bad Batch and Rex, and some of the high-ranking clones, they're kind of in a meeting. They are planning their next attack, and they are, in fact, planning a larger attack. And they see that there's 2 bases, large, small, like bases, bigger bases than they've been hitting before in the region, and they're kind of like on opposite sides of that region. So keep that detail in mind. And so they know that these are larger ones where there's a larger group of clones, larger amount of supplies, and bigger ships than they've been taking from these outposts throughout the area. And so what they do is, since they have multiple ships now, they take some of their clones and they send them to go scout out the bases to see what exactly they're going to see. And so, those clones, they're gone for a couple of days or whatever, and they come back. And so there's first base A. There's 75 clones there, stationed there, and there are multiple medium-sized ships that they could potentially.
So this is base A.
Base A. There's going to be 2 bases, so keep A and B in mind and what their differences are. Now, base B, there is 100 clones and 1 light cruiser. And so this light cruiser, so this is like the Jedi light cruiser or whatever, we're not. So I looked it up on Wikipedia or Wikipedia. Just to
Yes.
Good catch.
get the specific details on the light cruiser. And If I'm understanding it correctly, they can have 100 crew members plus another 100 passengers, and they could survive for 3 months off the supplies of that one light cruiser.
Dang.
Oh wow.
So,
A long time.
so these are the two bases. So one's, there's fewer clones with medium-sized ships, and then there's a larger amount of clones with one large ship that has a lot of supplies. And so now both have very large communication towers. They're larger than the communication towers from the outpost that from the previous episode. And there are similar environments that they're stationed in, and the layout of those bases is very similar. And so those are the details that the scouts came back with. And while these clones were going out doing their scouting and whatnot, they were able to kind of overhear some transmissions and kind of hear some chit chat on the radio waves at these bases, and they hear that the Empire is upping security at small bases throughout the region, including the two base A and B. And so this kind of worries the Bad Batch and was like, okay, now they're ready for us. Like whatever one base we attack, we need to be very prepared on how we're going to deal with it, because the Empire might be ready to be more equipped to attack back if we do a surprise attack. So they're weighing the options here, and now it flashes to Tarkin now, while he's kind of working on upping security and creating a plan for how to deal with one of these small bases that gets attacked. And he says, all right, I'm going to have an attack fleet that's going to be stationed out in space, and when one of those stations gets attacked, we'll immediately go there with an attack fleet. We'll be there within minutes, and we'll be able to overrun the clones that show up at that base, and we'll be able just to take them out. And so that's Tarkin's plan. There's kind of like there's two bases that they could probably go to, and we're going to be kind of stationed between the two. So which one gets attacked, we'll go straight to that one, and we will overwhelm them with our forces. And so let's see. So then, they go back to the clones, and they're taking a few hours to decide on a plan, which base to attack, and they're kind of getting out the details of that. And so it kind of leaves that scene, and then it goes to just the general clones that have been saved so far. And they're kind of on edge because they're very wary of what's going on, because you got the Bad Batch and Rex and some other clones that they're kind of like calling all the shots, and they feel kind of like on the outs, and they feel that there's also no really long-term plan. And so Bad Batch and Rex and them, they know that the clones are kind of like not confident in what's going on. So Hunter, after they come out of this meeting, after they create a plan, Hunter comes out, and he addresses all the clones in one kind of like speech. And it might be kind of corny because people love it or hate it, the speech in Independence Day from the president. It's going to be kind of like kind of like that, where he gets up on there and everyone just turns and listens, and he does this speech on of kind of like inspiration. And so
I was actually thinking along with that one, the one from Pacific Rim that Idris Elba does his character, where have you seen that?
I've seen both of them. I don't remember. I'm sorry.
It's fine. It's
Okay.
the same vibe, except he talks about canceling the apocalypse. Anyway, they're the same cheesy speeches. It's fine.
Okay. And so at the end of this inspiring a speech, Hunter is like, all right, this is the plan we're going to do. And then it goes to black. And so we as the audience don't know the plan, but the next scene is showing up in the plan as it's being played out. So
Ah,
so as an audience, we are going to see the plan played out, and we're not going to be told what the plan is ahead of time. And so the first scene after Hunter gives the plan, we go to Wrecker and Crosshair, and they are with 10 clone troopers, and they get off on a ship, and so they're on one of the bases or outside one of the bases. We don't know what base yet, what base
okay.
they decided. And so Wrecker and Crosshair, they get off the ship, and then they go in one direction, and the other 10 with them, they go in opposite direction. So they're kind of splitting ways, and they're kind of doing their part of the plan. And then so the rest of the clones, they're with like the rest of the Bad Batch and Rex and all of them. They're scattered around the base and kind of like on the outskirts, and they gotta obviously they have to land out far away from the base so that like the ship doesn't come in like the base, like, oh, there's a ship right there, why are they over there?
And
So
they
they
just
got
shoot him down.
yeah, so they gotta be kind of further out where they have to kind of do a trek through the forest or woods or whatever, for like miles away or whatever.
Sure.
So from those group of clones, they kind of break off and they go part their ways to kind of go surround the base or whatever. And so that's a multiple hour trek. And so there's a scene now.
Hey Jeremiah, can you stop saying the word Trek in a Star Wars podcast? That would make me feel better.
I'll think. I think we're done with trekking right now. So
All right, cool. Thank you. Just making sure.
as Hunter and Tech are trekking along, I mean,
Boo.
all right. So this scene is very. Pay attention to this scene because this is a very pivotal scene. It might kind of seem weird, but it's pivotal. And so Hunter and Tech, they're walking along, and they kind of turn a little like ridge or whatever, and on the ground there is a very large deer-like animal that is dead on the ground. It was killed by blasters,
No.
and it's just dead. And
Bambi.
so it's been rotting away because there are hundreds of thousands of like bugs and ants
Ugh.
on that carcass, and
Okay.
it's just eating it away. Blah blah blah.
Please tell me it comes back to life.
Oh, zombies.
Maybe zombies. I don't know. But so Tech, he sees it and he's like, whatever, and he just keeps walking. But Hunter, he stands at the carcass watching all these hundreds of thousands of ants and stuff eating this carcass away, and he just lingers there for a moment and stares at it. And then that's the end of that scene, and then it goes on to a couple hours later when all the groups of clones are in their position at the tree line at the base. So remember that scene. It's very important. It will come back later. And so
Okay.
I know
Okay.
it's super weird. I get it, but your mind will be blown later in the episode. I promise.
Okay.
So like I said, they're all the groups of clones. They're in their positions around the base, and they all squad. They kind of like radio in, like, okay, we're in position. Blah blah blah. And when everyone radios in, Hunter gives Wrecker the go. Right? He's like, okay, Wrecker, we're all in a position. Do your thing. And so Wrecker and Crosshair, they're at the communication tower, the large one, and they destroy it. So they blow up because, so at this moment, since they blew up a communication tower, the Empire, they're going to know which base has just been attacked because communication has been lost. So they'll know that. So, and so let's see. And so Wrecker and Crosshair, they're the ones that blew it up. And so they were with 10 other clones that were kind of like on their own little part of the mission with them. So they're at the very end, far end of the base, opposite. So there's the building, and then like a what do you call it? Like a tarmac or whatever, the open area. And then on the opposite end is where this group of 10 clones is. that was with Wrecker and Crosshair. And so they attack from that end of the base. And so they're boom, boom, boom. They're attacking. Clones are all them. What?
Nothing.
Okay.
Just
What's
the
so
phrase
funny?
there. Just the phrase there. Boom, boom, boom. It's fine.
The
It
boom
just,
boom boom group, but yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
so
it's fine.
okay, so they're attacking. Clones are coming out of the building facility base of the base, and they're coming out, and so they're that firefight going on, and so just literally moments later, in the Last Jedi fashion, you see the Star Destroyer arrive from hyperspace, looking up into
Oof.
the sky, and so they
Of
show
course you
up,
do.
and then within like a couple minutes, attack ships from the Star Destroyer, they arrive on the base. So then Crosshair, he gets on the radio and says, "They fell for it," with a smirk on his face. And it transitions to Tech, Hunter, and Rex in like a split screen, and they all say "perfect." And the camera pans towards the base that they're at, and the communication tower is still there, meaning that they're at a
Ah,
different base. And
you
so
sneaky devil.
and so
Mm.
and you see that the Bad Batch's group with most of the clones, the larger group of clones, they are at base B, the one with the light cruiser, and Wrecker and Crosshair were at base A. They had the 75 clones and a few ships. So all the Empire's
You dirty
resources,
dog.
for this attack uh, was sent to the wrong base on the opposite side of the region in the galaxy. And so at this moment, at base A with the clones, with the 10 clones with Wrecker and Crosshair, they're in retreat. They did their part. They're retreating. They're trying to get back to their ship, because obviously trying to take on a whole base by himself is not going to work out well. So that's happening. They run, blah, blah, blah. And we're back at base B. And so a group of clones are at the far end again on this big. So they're at the far end of the tarmac to draw the Imperial clones out from the base. And so as the clones are coming out of the base towards that end of the tarmac, let's see. Now I got to kind of read my notes specifically here. They are kind of the good clones are Rex clones and his clones. They come from the sides, from like they're at the building side, and they come from behind as the clones are going towards the first group. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so they're
Say
kind of
that one more
like,
time.
so. All right. Well, actually, I did come up with a picture. I should probably send it to you on Discord. I
Yeah.
forgot about that. I'll bring it up one sec. All right. So there's the picture that I sent you, and so on the right side, that's the first group that draws the clones out from the base, the Imperial clones. And so
Yep.
as they go towards the people on the clones on the right, the rest of the clones on the good side, they come from the sides from behind as the Imperial clones come out. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So that's where we're at. And so sorry for our listeners who don't have the diagram. You just have to figure it out on your own.
Or
but when
just
I
go on our website, go to our Facebook, and Jeremiah will send it to you. How about that?
yeah, that too. And also, if I win a $500 million lottery, this will all be in the
Yeah, I
the
was gonna
series
say
anyway.
you won't need to imagine it.
Yeah. And so anyway, so that's how they're kind of planned. So now the Imperial clones are kind of pinched between three groups of clones, and so they're being attacked. And so keep in mind at this moment that the Imperial clones, they're shooting to kill, but our clones, they're only stunning.
They're on
They're
stun.
so they can't, because they don't want to kill their brothers. So they're only
Yeah.
stunning them because they want to save them and remove their biochips. And so this is kind of really like one side's super offensive, the other side is super defensive in this, and it's kind of very a hard tactic to do because you're just trying to stun. And so
Of course, yeah.
And so they're doing the good clones. They're doing really good because they're doing the attack at first. They're stunning all kinds of clones. The ones that are still coming out of the base, they're still getting because they're kind of just coming out the door, and then boom, they're getting stunned basically. But then the ones on the tarmac, and some are kind of going to be exiting out of the cruiser too, and so they're dealing with that. Blah blah blah. Once a bunch of Imperial clones have been stunned and they're just laying on the tarmac, like Rex, he goes on the radio. All right, ships, we need you. And so the ships that landed out, miles away, they start going towards the base. They're ready to go. They're waiting on the radio to get the call. And so they get there in a couple minutes, and they land, and then some clones jump out, and they're picking up bodies and throwing them in the ship like as best as they can, like fast as they can. And so they're trying to load up their own ships with clones as they're getting shot at. And so they load up as many as they can, and then they just get out of there. They just pick up and run. It's kind of like, did you ever play the game console Atari?
The what?
The
The game console Atari?
Oh, the
Atari.
console. No, I had an NES.
Well, this is like
Flex.
way before then, but there's a game on there where you're just like a little like stick figure drawing of a helicopter, and like you land and like little dots that are supposed to be people. They get on your helicopter, and you like get as many on and fly away because like tanks are like shooting at you, and so it's like little crappy
stick helicopter game. Yes.
And it's basically like that. They come in, land, get as many people as they can on, and before they're shot down or whatever. So boom, 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 they get out of there. And so, let's see, where are we at now? And so at this moment, at this time, Tarkin, because this is moving so fast, this attack is happening. In fact, Tarkin still thinks that, he won because, we got him at base A, we stopped it, he's relieved,
Right.
blah, blah, blah. And then while he's kind of like happy about his victory for the day, there's one of the officers, he approaches Tarkin and he's like, they tricked us.
Uh-oh.
And Tarkin's like, what do you mean? Base A was a diversion. Base B, they're being decimated right now. This large attack is happening there. And so Tarkin, he's pissed. Like, he can't believe that he got bested by some mere clones. He thinks he's better than everyone. So he's pissed, and he's like,
head.
yeah, and he's like, get to base B immediately. Go, 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 type of thing. And so at this time, it goes back to the battle on base B, and they now start to try to board the light cruiser. And so they got all the clones that were at the base, or at least they're holding the remaining clones on the base that are on the tarmac at bay, and they're entering the light cruiser. And so they get in there. There's a limited amount of people on the light cruiser just because, there's most of them are just in the base itself. So there's not too many. There's probably like, I don't know, 30 or something. So it's super easy to go in there room by room and just kind of like take it over. But, Tech, once all the good clones are on, he hacks the system and, closes or maybe I guess Echo would be the one that would be the hacker. Easier for them to hack. So he closes the door so that no more some Imperial clones can get in or out. And so they take over the ship, blah, 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 and they take off. And so while they are in the air escaping, the ships that picked up the stunned clones, they land in the cruiser in flight because, they have like a bay where they have all where the ships are available to land, just a few ships. And so it's a smaller ship, so they can't obviously fit like 50 ships, but they have enough to fit a few. So, they only had 2 or 3 ships that could use to pick up the clones that they've stunned. So they are able to land, fit in there, boom, they're in there. So they get to space and they're calculating to go into hyperspace, and It's kind of like in Rogue One where Vader's ship shows up. It just like appears out of nowhere, and it's Tarkin,
Oh no.
and
Oh
they're
no.
going along, but it was this the positioning of the ships. They were not the good clones were not in danger of getting attacked, but like they fly by the what's the room where you steer or whatever, the captain's
The
The
not the
cockpit.
cockpit, the
No,
bridge.
the bridge,
bridge.
yes, the
Yeah,
bridge.
the
And
bridge.
so they kind of like maneuver right by the bridge, and they're so close they can kind of see Tarkin looking out the window at them. And because they're so happy about the victory, they wave at Tarkin like,
Oh
hey guy,
heck no!
bye. And they hit the
Got
hyperspace,
'em.
and they say, all right, let's go to the rendezvous in the outer rim that they had. And
Okay.
so that there's that.
So,
It's
so as far
based,
as we know, this was a successful mission.
yes, as far as we know. Now
Okay.
we
But
transition. Oh,
but hold on. Do you know what else would be a really successful mission?
For our mouths, I know.
Drew, do you know?
Yeah,
What would that be?
I believe that would probably be our sponsor for this episode.
Yeah,
ooh,
getting some coffee from the
Yes.
sponsor of today's episode. Sorry for the cheesy segue there, but I'm also not sorry. But you should definitely listen to this message from the sponsor of today's video, Wesley Andrews Coffee and Tea. Hey everyone, Andrew here. I'm pleased to tell you that the sponsor for today's episode is Wesley Andrews Coffee and Tea. If you don't know anything about Wesley Andrews, you definitely should. They're an award-winning coffee roaster and shop in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and they make fantastic coffee. The awesome thing is that they have a subscription service that gets those amazing coffee beans delivered to your door on an either weekly, bi-weekly, or a monthly basis. Unfortunately, we're all being negatively affected by this virus right now. But that being said, what a better time to try some new coffee and support a local business. I know they'll greatly appreciate it, and we will too. After all, using the code Empire Radio with a capital E and a capital R with no space at checkout, when you start a new subscription at wesleyandrews.cc, you'll get 50% off your first purchase. I can't think of a better deal. Get 50% off, support a local Minneapolis coffee shop, and support your favorite Star Wars podcast. In the words of Emperor Palpatine, do it.
Yeah, so if you guys just heard that, make sure you click the link right under this podcast.
Yeah.
And that will take you right to wesleyandrews.cc. Again, that's wesleyandrews.cc.com is nothing, so don't go to that place. Go to wesleyandrews.cc and make sure you use the promo code Empire Radio at checkout, and that will give you 50% off of your purchase.
Yeah.
So yes,
I'm
and
a believer.
I think, yeah.
I'm a
Who is it?
believer. Well, in the coffee subscription, all I'm trying to say is I've done it and it works and it's really good stuff. So you should do it.
Yeah, so go make sure to check it out. It'll keep you awake for the rest of the story because it's so good. You need more hype up energy. And so, yeah, I'm pretty pumped. Jeremiah, come on.
all right.
Let's go.
So
Yeah, give it to us.
So we see what happened with the clones at base B, but there were still clones at base A trying to escape. So this is where we're going back to now. So we're back with Crosshair and Wrecker, and they're racing to get to their ship, and they're getting chased from behind and blah blah blah. They're trying to run, they're trying to defend themselves without hurting the other clones. And so they're going, and they're getting attacked, and so they see their ship in the distance, like they're trying to get there. They're super close, but they happen to run into a Imperial patrol squad that's already out in the woods, and so they're getting kind of like pinched between from behind and front with clones that are on the Imperial side.
Yep.
And so they're defending themselves the best they can, and without harming the Imperial clones. And you can kind of also see in the distance from where the other 10 clones were coming from that were on the good clones. They're trying to get back to their ship also. And so you kind of see them off in the distance trying to get to the ship. And so it's a hectic firefight. And as they are getting closer and closer, Crosshair, he's kind of doing. He did some modification to his sniper where he can actually use a stun option with his sniper, which normally he wouldn't have. But they were able
Right.
to add that feature, so he's stunning people from a distance. Blah blah blah. But
Ooh, that's
then,
cool.
but then we go to the perspective of an Imperial clone who's a sniper, and he sees Crosshair,
No, don't.
and he aims at Crosshair, and he shoots, and Crosshair gets shot in the helmet into his shooting eye, and so his helmet is his special helmet has been destroyed, and his actual eye that he uses for shooting has been hit by debris, and so his
wow.
his shooting eye is gone. It's
Oh,
it's
oh
decimated.
no.
He's
Oh,
But
one
no.
eyed.
he didn't die.
He didn't die. It was just kind of like a side
Oh.
shot, so it's just kind of like the angle it went. It didn't like blow up his head. It just kind of grazed
Oh wow.
his eye enough to, and it's also the shrapnel from the helmet also like going into his eye and causing damage. Also, it's not just straight bullet because he had a helmet on.
Wow.
And so
What a bold move.
so his hair, his eye is gone. So he's like one-eyed Willie now. That's like his
I was
nickname.
gonna say is One Eye Willie.
And then Wrecker, he's picking up Crosshair and trying to get him into the ship. And we see the group of 10 clones. They're getting back to the ship, but you see multiple of those clones getting shot and falling and hitting the ground. And so, they're dead. And so they get back on the ship. They're able to escape, and they go to hyperspace, and they get to the rendezvous point in the Outer Rim with the clones from Base B. And so just to look at the numbers now of the clones. So Base A, with Wrecker and them, with Wrecker and Crosshair, 5 clones were killed. At Base B, 16 good clones were killed.
Dang.
And so
What's their total numbers then?
So I'm getting there.
Oh, okay. All right.
And so let's see. So now they have a total of the clones that they were able to capture at the Base B. That was I know I gotta look at my numbers, how I did this math, because I didn't really explain it that well. But they gained 84 clones. They 21 were killed, and so now all together they have 116 clones.
Okay.
So
All right.
so the light cruiser, like I said earlier, can hold up to 200 people. That would last for 3 months with supplies on board. So they're kind of like a half capacity. Now that they're on the Outer Rim, and they're excuse me, with this light cruiser, there is a medical bay in this light cruiser, and so they don't need to use those devices that they create. They can now use a more high-tech professional way to remove the biochips, just like how Rex had his removed in the Clone Wars. And so this is going on, blah blah blah. All these 84 clones that are kind of been shackled and waiting their turn to be put into the machine. And so while this is going on, also in the medical bay, Crosshair is being fitted with a Cybertronic eye. So he's gonna be kind of like Wolf with his fake eye.
Yeah.
So that's a big thing for Crosshair, because what made him unique has now been lost, his ability to be a sniper. And so we'll see more of his story played out in season 2. Next scene, it goes to Rex, and he goes to the communication room, and he's talking with some of the officers there, and he's like, I need to send out a deep space message on a special frequency. And so that they set that up. They set that, and the clone's like, "Well, what is this for?" And he says, "I'm just seeing if there's any friends out there." So, if you remember, in Clone Wars, in the final arc, Ahsoka uses a deep space frequency. So he's using that same frequency to see if any of his friends that know that frequency are out there.
Sure.
Okay.
Now, whether or not anyone will hear that in future seasons, that is to be determined. Let's see here. Okay, so now after that, we transition to Tarkin. So he's now getting the full report of all that happened. And they say 21 clones were killed. And all 21 of these clones had their chips removed. And they also say, surveillance from the attacks. The officer says, we looked at the surveillance from the attacks, and it shows that the Inquisitor clones were present. And so we now know at this point that the Bad Batch was called the Inquisitor clones.
Huh.
Ooh,
By the Empire.
that's interesting.
And so,
Interesting.
this being said, Tarkin, he now has to give the report to Emperor Palpatine. So he does an emergency call, and he informs the Emperor that Phase 1 of the Inquisitor program has been lost, because he knows that the Bad Batch has been saved from the biochip.
Right.
So now we know that there's the Bad Batch, they were Phase 1 of the Inquisitor program, and it would be kind of implied in this scene that this program was, when the Bad Batch were created, this Inquisitor program was already being conducted by the Emperor. So from the start, the Bad Batch was being crafted by the it would be Chancellor Palpatine, that he was the one who was creating the Bad Batch for the purpose of being the leads on the Jedi
Murder Squad.
murder squad, if you want to call it.
Right.
So that's just Phase 1, and so it would then be assumed then that Phase 2 would have been the Jedi that were captured, that were turned to the dark side, and actually became what we know as the Inquisitors from Rebels. So that aspect of the program has been lost, Phase 1. All right. So this is the very last scene, and this is when I sent you guys the dialogue that was blacked out.
Oh yeah.
This is the final scene of Season 1. And so I'll just read it. So there'll be text, but also like dialogue, but there'll be some prompts of like whatever. So I'll just read it straight through, and then we'll see what you guys think. Hunter approaches Tech's living quarters and sees that Tech is repairing and adjusting his equipment. Hunter says, "Hey, Tech." And Tech replies, "Yes, Hunter. It was quite the victory today, wasn't it?" And Tech says, "It was. Unfortunately, we are without any long-term plans. I don't see how we move forward." And then Tech looks down and continues working, and there is a slight pause of silence. Tech then says, "Was there something you needed? I'm busy tending to my gear." Hunter then says, "I want to run something by you. I think I know how we can wake up thousands of clones at one time." And Tech freezes, and he looks up with intrigue. And Tech says, "How is that possible? We don't have the manpower or the equipment to subdue that many clones." Hunter says, "No, I think there's a different way. Today during the mission, we came across that deer carcass in the woods. It was interesting how all those hundreds of thousands of ants were breaking down that animal. I bet in a matter of just a few days, only the bones would be left." Tech replies, "Yes, but what does this have to do with waking up clones?" And Hunter says, "What do you know about programming nanodroids?" The end.
Oh.
Interesting.
So, theories, reactions.
I did.
What do you think's going to happen in season 2?
Is that the first time nanodroids have ever been like really mentioned in Star Wars?
No, because Ahsoka gets framed with the nanodroids.
Oh, that's right. That's
So,
right.
so I think that's the only time that we know that nanodroids were in Star Wars universe, and so that's this end of season 5.
Huh. Interesting. Drew, what do you think is going to happen?
I think the nanodroids. I think what. Well, I don't know if it's gonna happen, but I think what would be interesting to see if they're able to get them to work and like go into like a base or something and just like attack one person, change him, and then like slowly work their way like on a cruiser, like on a ship, and then take over that ship from the inside out, essentially. Because I feel
Yeah.
like once you're turned, you realize a lot of these clones are realizing, right? Like that what they're doing right now is not good, and it doesn't take a lot to actually turn them. It's like once you're turned, you kind of understand that you were kind of corrupt and mistreated as a person. And I
Right.
think the biggest thing that Jeremiah is trying to come across as a writer is that these clones still want to be treated as people and not just devices to be used, like tools to be used. And that was a
Yeah.
big thing right at the end of Clone Wars, the finale. That was a big thing what Rex was talking about, was like he wanted to be like after this war, like what is my purpose?
Yeah.
And so like I feel like a lot of these clones feel the same. And so once these, if they're able to do it without actually being there, they can take over ships without being there. And like, I don't know, I think it would be cool to see them like slowly take over other ships to the point where the Empire has to remove all the chips so that they can just tell them like, this is your purpose now. And it's not more like a mind control flip kind of thing. It's more of like, that's what's they're gonna have to kill all the clones in order to just give steal people essentially to be their army. That's my theory. But
Yeah. Well, he mentioned one time at one time. And so my question is, do they, instead of infecting one clone and then sending that clone into a ship or a base, do they just send a crap ton of the nanodroids in,
yeah,
and then like strike it all at one time? I don't know. I mean, I think Crosshair is going to be fine because he has a cybernetic eye, and I feel like that would make him an even better shot.
potentially.
Potentially. I mean, it's like taking the technology in his helmet and just putting it in his skull. So that could be
Honestly, like I don't really care about that character. So
cool.
when
Well, dang.
Jeremiah like did, I'm like, okay, it's
Okay,
like,
fine. He's gonna be the main character of season 2 now. Okay, I'm just
that's
kidding.
Just for you, Drew.
that's okay. I mean, I don't really have a big connection to any of these characters really that much yet. Like the most character I have a big connection to would be Echo,
Rex.
you know,
And Rex.
and
Right.
Rex, obviously Rex. But I felt like for the Bad Batch crew, Echo is probably the one that I really care about the most. Maybe Hunter a little bit, but not really. They're just the
Well,
Ninja Turtles, you
dang.
guys. Like,
Oh my
they're
gosh.
just the Ninja Turtles, okay?
Boo.
And I love the Ninja Turtles. I am a big turtle fan, but they're just the Ninja Turtles, and I've seen it before. And there's no way that Raphael was gonna die. Jeremiah didn't kill him; he just injured him, and he'll come back. And it's just, yeah. But if Jeremiah wants to kill him off, I guess he could.
Well, I mean, it
But
wasn't about killing him. He took
no, I
away
know.
the thing, like the very thing that defined him. It would be
For
like
now,
taking Raphael and cutting off his hand so that he couldn't use his psi anymore.
mm,
You see what I'm saying? How's Raphael going to be Raphael with two nubs? Huh? He
I'll
can't.
just call him Nubby Boy. He'll just be
Don't do
very,
it.
very like dramatic and just a big. He would cry even more. He would be a bad character. That's for sure. He would just pout
So,
all day with a hood on.
well, nobody. Anyways, I'm excited. I thought that was a really strong ending.
No,
I
I
don't
think
know.
the ending was really good. I loved it. I just
I
don't
don't.
really
I've
care about the eye thing, but
well, dang. I care about it, Jeremiah. I'm sorry.
no, it has nothing to do with Jeremiah. It's just it has to do with what we have of these characters in previous content. I don't know.
Well,
I mean, if you
have never.
remember my review on the Bad Batch series, you can go
Well,
check it
yeah.
out at Clone Wars Saved podcast. Go listen to it. I was not like this arc wasn't my favorite, and so I feel like I will love it once. Like if I visually saw this, I would probably feel more attached. But from just hearing it and from what I already have, I don't really feel super attached to these clones yet. That's
All right. Well, I was going to say I've never been very much of a speculator. So I don't really have a great deal of ideas of what's going to happen. I just know that that is obviously going to play into the plot. And we could very well see our clone group double, triple, or quadruple in size. And then my question is, do they just form their own like rebel cell? I don't know, but that could be something
Ooh.
that we could see come into play too. So
Yes. Jeremiah, are you done with season 2 already?
Oh no, I've only completed 2 episodes because it's very difficult because now I have to like deal with continuity issues. And so I don't want to contradict myself with things. And also
Gotcha.
I rewatched the episodes in Rebels
Mm-hmm.
where we discover the clones again with Rex,
Yeah.
Wolf, and Gregor, and kind of the details of what they said there. And so I have to make sure what I do moving forward makes sense with what they said.
Gotcha.
And also, like, if I try to bring in Wolf or Gregor, like, I have to make it make sense. And so it's kind of difficult because then there's like specific details that I didn't realize were actually part of it. Like, one of the things that Kanan says was that he knew about the chips because the clones said we did Order 66 because of the chips in our head. And so somehow he knew about, somehow he figured or found out about this information. And so it's like, do I want to write something that explains how the general population would know about the biochip, or if I want to do it more subtly, or what? So I don't
Yeah.
know.
There's so much cool ways you can go about that because like you could do like if they did end up sending out these droids and maybe they're in the like the clones were trying to hunt down Kanan and then they watched these droids take over the clone that was hunting him down and then changed him in front of him or something cool like that.
Yeah.
oh.
Right, that would be cool. Maybe I should write my own
Or
version of this story.
you could just say to heck with continuity
Yeah, dude, it's already canon.
and just like write your own
Just
thing.
do what you're doing, man.
Bring zombies.
I
Dude,
mean, why not?
please. I'm like 20
I'm
minutes away from finishing that Red Harvest book that I was talking about, and it's so good.
Honestly, I'm kind of sad that you didn't have the dying deer be a tauntaun, but I'll let it pass for now.
Oh, Drew, this is
Like-
completely off topic, but I need you to know this right now.
Okay.
Zombie tauntauns
Oh, heck yes.
are a thing in Red Harvest.
Did I ever tell you? Okay, for listeners that are just joining us, why are you listening to this one and not the first 2 episodes of this series? But anyways, there's a past episode when we talk about like favorite creatures or whatever.
Yeah.
And tauntauns were one of my favorite things about Star Wars. And because of the scene where Han Solo cuts open the tauntaun, spoilers. But the pop came out. Did you guys see that? Of like the
Which
dead
one?
tauntaun and Han
Oh, yeah.
Solo holding the lightsaber. I just got that in the mail. I thought I would tell you
Nice.
guys that. It's pretty dope. It's kind of weird because it's kid's toy, but like there's a dead animal there. But
Yeah. But what I'm saying is in this book, tauntauns die and then come back to life as zombie tauntauns.
I mean,
So
yeah,
there's that for you.
makes
There's a little
sense.
piece of
Now,
information.
are
All that to
tauntauns?
say, what you can do, Jeremiah, is just write
Yeah.
your own story.
I
Yes,
don't know.
just right.
I think I want to stick with continuity.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah,
That's
I
fair.
think it's because one, it'll be more challenging for me to like make sure it fits,
That's true.
and so then it would be you could just watch this TV series that I made for $500 million, and then go watch Rebels afterwards, and it would make sense.
Ah,
True.
yes.
Also, if Dave Filoni is listening to this and steals what you're doing right now for the show,
Yeah, because this so you know, Dave Filoni, podcasts are automatically copyrighted, so this is
oh,
copyrighted material. So hopefully
Mhm.
this story is copyrighted before anything that you guys create for the Bad Batch.
I mean,
And
we have
so,
an ongoing thing, hashtag give it to Dave, but we don't want to give you this without our consent, just so you know, Dave. So
but
if you listen,
it would be super cool if we got a letter from Dave Filoni telling us to cease and desist what we're doing. That would be super cool. Like,
Jeremiah, would you frame that?
heck yeah, dude.
Dude, I would actually request you to make 3 copies so we can all frame it, just so you know, because that would be dope. But
All right.
Well, there you have it, everyone. Jeremiah's lovely ending to and dramatic ending to his fan fiction of the hypothetical $500 million television series that he would
can we
write
clap?
on the Bad
Can we clap
Batch.
for
Yeah, we can.
Jeremiah?
Yeah, we can do that.
Yay. Cue episode 6 ending music. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that you all clapped with us because
Yes.
Jeremiah did a really good job, and we're proud of him.
And
We
I'm
really
excited
are.
for like season 2. And granted, Jeremiah's 3 episodes in, or 2, right? You said 2.
Finished 2. I kind of started doing some bullet points for season
So if
2.
I just
for
said
episode 3.
anything and I predicted, it's probably because he's just stealing my ideas. So
Yep.
I'll let it pass.
Maybe.
But the real question is, what did you, our listeners, think? And you're probably thinking, whoa. I mean, I've got thoughts, but I don't know where
Yes.
to share them. Well, there are 3 separate places you can share them, and 2 of those are our social media accounts. Drew and or Jeremiah, tell them about the 3 ways that they can share their thoughts with us.
Well, one, you can go on Facebook, like our
Yeah.
page, and it's Empire Radio Podcast on Facebook, and so add us on there, and then you can send us a message, leave a public comment if you want, and we'll see what you think.
Yeah. Drew, what would be the other social media option
You
they can
can
try?
definitely go to Instagram and go smash the heck out of that follow button and go follow us over there. That is Empire Radio Podcast. And you can drop a message in the message box and let us know what you think about this episode and much more, what you think about us as a podcast as well, and just what you want to see from us in the future.
Yeah, and if you're feeling really bold and you're like, okay, well, I can do the social media thing, but I'd rather you hear my voice. I want my voice to literally be heard. Well, there's a link underneath the podcast player of your choosing that you're listening to down in the description, whether it be on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, whatever, it's there. And if you click that link, you can actually leave us a voice message with your thoughts. And the thing about our comments and our messages and stuff, we get them when we read them, and oftentimes because the last few have been really constructive and really positive, we will actually discuss them on air. And if you leave us a voicemail and it's not disgustingly bad or really mean, we will listen
Yeah.
to it in an episode and we will discuss your comments. Or if you put in the message you don't want to be on air, that's fine. We won't do it. You have the option to opt out. But all of that to say, we want to hear from you. We want to hear what you're thinking. Like Drew said, obviously we want to hear your thoughts to Jeremiah's fan fiction. But if you have an idea, if you have some constructive criticism, or you just want to say, hey, you guys are doing great, all of that is welcome. So again, your three options are Facebook at Empire Radio Podcast, Instagram at Empire Radio Podcast, and the link for the voice message down below.
Yeah. So, like Andrew said, go to all those. It'd be sweet if you go to all three, or do all three. But just go to Facebook or Instagram. That would be really cool as well. We are trying to do stuff weekly over there, and we would love you guys to just share those links and get our name out there even more. That'd be awesome. And we have some big surprises coming your guys' way very soon, so make sure you hit the notification so you guys get the update when we announce all this stuff. And wherever you're listening to this, make sure you follow us over there as well, so you can get the podcast right away when we post up, because this is a weekly podcast about weekly Star Wars fun stuff. So, yeah.
Like Drew said, you're not going to want to miss it. We've got some stuff coming, and I'm really excited about it. So just don't miss it. But without further ado, this has been another episode of the Empire Radio Podcast. I'm Andrew.
I'm Jeremiah.
I'm Drew.
And may the Force be with you.
Always.